Hello everyone. Today the topic that we have brought to you is the figures of speech. In this class, we are going to learn about the literary devices which are used by the authors, writers, dramatists in order to convey the deeper sense of meaning of the any of the literal language. Okay, that is, we are going to discuss about the two cases here, literal and the figurative language. Got it? We have certain literary devices performing their certain roles, okay, in English language, like alliteration, repetition, anaphora, consonants, okay, consonants, and then moving more, we have simile, we have metaphor, then moving more, we have oxymoron, paradox, okay, antithesis. So various literary devices are being used by the authors in order to express their deeper sense and to rely on the reader's mindset, that how do they think, what are the extent of their thought, okay, and how they encode that written parts, okay. So in order to know these things, we will have a deep dive of this knowledge, a deep dive on this topic, in order to gain the knowledge about the literary devices or the figures of speech. In today's class, we will be discussing about the figures of speech, which I just named just now. We will discuss about the literal and the figurative language. There are the two cases in the English language or any language. They are literal and the figurative part. Okay, we will discuss them. What is literal and what is figurative? Okay, then we will discuss about the schemes and tropes. What happens? We distribute or divide the figures of speech on the basis of their function. Okay, and on the basis of their function, certain repetition or the literal meaning, according to that, we divide them into schemes and the tropes. Next, moving on, we have the figures of speech, where we will deal with them one by one with examples to make it clear to you all. Okay, here you will see the figures of speech periodic table. Okay, the certain colors pattern which you are observing are they of same group, or the functions like the same thing. Okay, certain changes are there but have the same property, like in the green part, if you are observing simile, metaphors, anecdote, okay, what happens? They use the non-literal. They used to mean non-literal way. Sorry, they used to mean in non-literal way. Okay, like if I say you are apple of my eye, okay, he is as fast as a lion. Okay, so these are what we are comparing the qualities. There are the hidden meanings. There are the hidden literal meanings. That is only the groupings has been done as per their meanings, as per their functions. Got it? Now here, what are figures of speech? So I will deal here with the two things in the case of English language, okay, or moreover in the case of any language. In order to express certain thing, we use the schemes, rhyming part, rhythmic flow, okay, or we use the hidden meanings to convey our emotions, or to evoke the emotions in the readers, to develop their interest, okay, to feel them, to make them connected, to have the depth knowledge, to deeper knowledge of that, to develop the deeper knowledge inside the reader's mind. So what do we use? We use the figurative language. So what is the difference between the figurative and the literal language? The difference between the figurative language and the literal language is that the very first difference is that both are, first, if we consider the literal language, it is the means of direct communication, where we use the direct or the literal words, and the meaning is taken directly as their dictionary words or the dictionary definitions. What I will say, you will mean the same. The sky is blue. You will understand, yes, he's saying that the sky color is blue. Whatever things is being said or conveyed, you get that clarity only. You don't deviate from that topic, don't think here and there. But when I say about the figurative language, it conveys, or what happens, it employs the words. The figurative language employs the words in certain way in order to express or invoke the reader's mind, using certain exaggeration, using certain rhetorical devices. Okay, so these are form of indirect communication used by the authors, narrators, or poets, dramatists, okay, in order to evoke the emotions, in order to develop the core concept, in order to mean in non-literal way. Okay, so figures of speech, brief summary, you will come to know what happens. It is just the creative use of language. It is as simple as that. What is it? Just a creative use of language in order to generate effect, or to enhance the expression, or to evoke the emotion. Got it? Then we have the figures of speech, which adds the richness and the depth to the writing, allowing the authors to convey complex ideas and the feelings more vividly than simply writing in a literal language, that is in a straightforward form. Okay, language that uses figurative language completely is known as the figurative language, which what happens, which uses the figures of speech, the alliteration, anaphora, these things that are termed to be what? That are termed to be the figurative language. Now till here, I hope that you have the clarity about the literal and the figurative language. Yes. Now moving on, the figurative language, sticking to our topic, the figurative language is further divided into two categories as per the function. The first one is schemes and the second one is tropes. Okay, now schemes means to make the pattern, to develop certain pattern, the structure, the formation, the repetition, okay, whatsoever, wherever you develop the pattern, okay, syntax form, okay, you will come to know that it is kept under the table of what? Schemes. And whenever you are talking about the literal meanings in a non-literal way, the literal meanings are not conveyed, okay, you are talking about all those things in a non-literal way, the meanings or the depth of the understanding is left upon the readers. That is your tropes. Okay, like in case of tropes, you are apple of my eye. Okay, for that case you are saying tropes. If you have certain repetitions, okay, she sells on the seashore. Okay, if we are going to say like this, so we are seeing that S pronunciation, S sound is being produced. Okay, so that is what difference between the schemes and the tropes. Got it? Let us see them in the written form so that you could remember or memorize. So as I told you, schemes, they are derived from the Greek word, okay, schema or schema, meaning what? Shape. So what happens? It is the form or the change of the structure of the language, okay, where you see certain flow or rhythm of the text, like the repetition, anaphora, alliteration. Okay, in the case of anaphora, and if you are not familiar with the figures of speech, have you heard about the alankar? In Hindi, you have surely heard about the alankar, anupras, upma, yugm. Okay, so you have heard about it. And moreover, if you are watching movies, okay, or you are interested in watching movies, have you seen the movie that was in Shah Rukh Khan and Kajal as the actor? The name of the movie was Kabhi Khushi Kabhi Gham. Okay, there you listened a phrase that was what? चंदू के चाचा ने चंदू की चाची को चांदनी चौक में चांदी की चम्मच से चांदनी रात में चटनी चटाई. So in that case, what you are hearing that cha sound is being produced. A cha sound is being noticed multiple times. The repetition has been observed here. So that is what your anupras alankar. And in that case, in English, if we come, we call it as alliteration. Moreover, you have what? You have खड़क सिंह के खड़कने से खड़कती है खिड़कियां, खिड़कियों के खड़कने से खड़कता है खड़क सिंह. So here खड़क word is being repeated in the phrases. Okay, starting of the beginning of the phrases. So that is termed to be anaphora. Got it? So that is only the figures of speech or the literary devices. Okay, and in the case of tropes, what happens? In the case of tropes, you will be observing the meaning has been changed. Okay, they are meaning something different. Okay, he is as brave as tiger. Okay, she is as beautiful as moon. Okay, so for that cases, what happens? You use metaphor, simile. Okay, the table is walking here and there. Will the table walk? No. Okay, so personification, so that is what we rely on, metaphor in case of tropes, metaphor, comparison, association to create new meaning. Okay, so here the literal meaning, when you are changing, you are going to keep it under the bracket of tropes. So in conclusion, we can say the schemes are schemes and tropes both are what? Rhetorical devices, and have different and has each has what? Different function. The first one, that is schemes, are related to the word order, syntax and letters or sounds. Okay, whereas the tropes are related to the meaning of the words. Got it? Now I'm very much sure that you are very clear. You have the clarity, you have the depth knowledge of what? The literal meaning and what is the figurative meaning in languages. You have also further known about the tropes and the schemes. Got it? Now let's learn each and every figures of speech one by one. So the first figure of speech, which you can see figures of speech, is oxymoron. Here you can see what is written, pretty ugly. What you are noticing here? The opposite words are placed side to side. Okay, they are placed side by side with each other. That is what? That is only your oxymoron. So whenever you combine words in such a way, in the same phrase, that they mean opposite of each other and are placed just side by side, they are termed to be oxymoron. Got it? Like he popped the jumbo shrimp in his mouth. Yeah, here you are observing that jumbo means big, shrimp means tiny, little. Okay, so these two are different things placed against each other. Jumbo, very large, huge, we can say. Huge, we can say. Okay, and here shrimp, we can say tiny, small. Okay, so here you can observe that these two opposite words are placed side by side. Similarly, Ram is an honest thief. So here honest and thief, they both mean opposite to each other. So they are termed to be oxymoron. So some regular patterns which you can see as in the oxymoron cases are deafening silence, a clever fool, living death, irregular pattern, an original copy, a harsh kindness, controlled chaos, old news, comma, tragic comedy, and so on. So you need to remember in the case of oxymoron that when the two opposites are placed side by side of each other in the single sentence, then you are going to say that the literary devices or the literary device, the figures of speech used here, the figure of speech used here is oxymoron. Got it? Next is your antithesis. What happens, like in the case of antithesis, anti, if we break it, anti, what happens? Anti means something which is opposite, which means opposite. So inside a phrase, when you observe, the first phrase and the second phrase are opposing each other, conveying meaning of opposite of each other. That is your antithesis. Okay, so conveys two opposing concepts. What happens? It conveys two opposing concepts in a single sentence, but not in the same phrase. For example, from here to here you have one phrase, and from here to here the second phrase. You can observe, man proposes, God disposes. United we stand, divided we fall. So like these cases, when you observe, that is your antithesis. Next is your paradox. What happens in paradox? The whatever the literal meaning is given there, you will have a depth knowledge of it in order to understand, in order to encode that sentence. Got it? For example, a statement that will fail to contradict itself. As the good example here, less is more. Okay, less is more. You need a depth knowledge to understand this phrase कि कम जो है वही ज़्यादा है. Got it? So less, in order to being less, satisfaction is more important to us. Okay, in order to acquire more and more, greed, it will lead us to failure, it will lead us to destruction. Okay, so that is the hidden meaning inside it. Less is more. So that is the case when we talk about paradox. So this is the beginning of the end, said R. Okay, less is more. So here you are observing what? Here in these two sentences you are observing that they are contradicting itself. This is the beginning of the end. What does this mean? अब आपने मुन्ना भाई एमबीबीएस देखा होगा, भाई ये तो शुरू होते ही खत्म हो गया. Okay, so contradicts itself, start and ends. Okay, so less is more. So you need a depth knowledge, you need a vast exposure of knowledge in order to encode this paradox. Okay, therefore they have hidden meaning, non-literal. Now here that comes is your irony. What happens in the irony? Whatever you say, whatever you speak, okay, or whatever in the written form, if we come across, whatever things are written, it does not, it means the exact same. That means the hidden meaning, it conveys the opposite meaning or contradictory meaning of that in the case of drama vagera. Okay, here you can observe it is the use of the words in order to convey the opposite of their literal meaning, whatever things are being said. Also, a case, a statement or situation where the meaning is contradicted by the appearance or the presentation of the idea. Got it? For example, an astronomer being afraid of the dark. Now you see, astronomer, he will go in space, there is complete darkness. And now here the statement reads as astronomer is afraid of the dark. An astronomer being afraid of the dark. So here you can observe that it is contradicting itself. It is meaning opposite of it. Astronomer will not get feared about it. Okay, so it is talking in opposite way. Okay, that is your irony. The Titanic was charted as an unsinkable ship, yet it sank on its very first voyage. Okay, that was kept as what? That was considered to be the unsinkable ship, but also it sank. So this is the irony, that whatever things you have said that is unsinkable, sorry, that on the very first day sank. Okay, so that is what? That is irony. Okay, then comes simile. So four things we have discussed. Okay, for the cases of the meaning, that was your first oxymoron, then you came across antithesis, then you came across irony, and then you came across, what was it? Paradox. Okay. In those cases where comparisons are done, we are going to use the metaphor, the simile, the personifications. Okay, so here you can see simile. What happens in the case of simile? What happens as you are observing here, you are going to compare. certain things with a certain. Okay, like for example here, he is as brave as lion. वो lion की तरह बहादुर है. Okay, the fact is as clear as the crystal. Okay, the cat is as playful as a cat. Okay, so here whenever you are using the certain words like as, like, okay, so these words convey what? Direct comparison. And when you have the direct comparison, what happens? That is kept under the bracket of simile. And then we have our metaphor. In this, the things are being compared, same likewise as the simile, but there is not the direct comparison. Okay, there the words like or as relating to it will be eliminated. Okay, for example, the camel is the ship of the desert. Life is a bed of thorns. तो इसका ये मतलब नहीं हो गया कि कैमल जो है वो शिप जहाज है, वो तैरेगा रेत पे. And it does not conveys us the meaning that life is a bed of thorns. जिंदगी क्या है? बिस्तर है जिसपे क्या है? कांटे लगे हुए. Okay, so that does not means, okay, the literal meaning is somewhat life is very difficult, life is challenging, life is hard. Okay, that is what being said. The camel is the ship of the desert. That means it can move on the sand very swiftly, very smoothly. Okay, that is being conveyed here. That is metaphor. These all are what? Indirect comparisons. Got it? In that case, you use what? You use metaphor. Okay, then comes your alliteration. Now there comes the situation where you have the certain repetitions of the sounds. When you have the repetitions of the sounds at the beginning of the any word and the same sound is being produced, okay, that is termed to be alliteration. For example, here you can see she sells seashells by the seashore. So here you are observing that s, okay, s sound is being produced at a beginning of the each word. That is termed to be your alliteration. Then I slipped slowly into this slow, slippery sled. Okay, so you are observing that SL, slick. That sound is being produced at the beginning of or the starting of the word. Her brown braid brushed the bridge of her brow. So this is what these are, which you are observing are the repetition of the sounds. Okay, they are repetitions of sounds in one or more words in the sentences that are located next to each other. And the repetition must be what? At the beginning, at the starting of each word. Okay, then after alliteration, you have your anaphora. And in the case of anaphora, I have told you the word will repeat itself. The exact word will repeat itself among the phrases. Got it? Like the repetition of the same word or the phrase at the beginning of the successive clauses or the verses. For example, here, unfortunately, I was in the wrong place at the wrong time, on the wrong day. So here you are saying the I was in the wrong place. Okay, wrong, at the wrong time, on the wrong day. So here you are observing that among the verses, among the phrases, what happens? A same type of word is being repeated at the starting of the phrases, at the starting of the verses. So it is termed to be what? Anaphora. Got it? Then you have your assonance. See, what is the difference between alliteration and assonance? Assonance, the repetition of the vowels anywhere in the sentence among the words. But alliteration will always contain the repetition at the beginning of the words in a sentence. Got it? So, how now brown cow? So, you are observing O, repeated. Vowel sound is being repeated. Water falls across the autumn rocks. Okay, so here you can see O, repetition. Okay. Similarly, A also is coming there. Okay, A. Got it? So the green field gleams in the warm sunbeams. So green, G you are observing here. Okay. So whatever the things you are saying, okay, not G, E. Okay, you are observing E. G is not your vowel. Okay, whatever things you are observing in the form of E, they all are what? They all are assonance. So whenever you have the similarity of sound in between the internal vowels in neighboring words, okay, repetition of the sounds of the internal vowels in the neighboring sound, you are going to keep it under what? Assonance. You are going to keep them under assonance. Got it? For the simple, you can learn repeated vowel sounds in nearby words. Then comes the consonants. In the case of consonants, you will observe the repetition of the consonant sounds. Whenever you observe the repetition of the consonant sounds, you are going to keep it under the bracket of consonants. Difference again, the consonants and alliteration at the starting of the word, consonants anyway. Got it? A bond that transcends the beyond. Okay, repeated consonant sounds in nearby words. You can see, observe, anywhere it is coming. Got it? But alliteration will come only at the beginning of the word. Okay. How now brown cow. Okay. So you can observe here what N, W. It is coming, repeating itself. Okay. Ready, grow, roar is older brother. Okay. From the river raft. Got it? Same kind of sound you are observing there. So these are what? These are your consonants. Now comes the onomatopoeia. Okay, whenever you speak something or whenever you write something and the expression comes out or the feelings or the sounds comes out, basically the sounds is being generated through the writtens, letters, words, sentences, the idea of sound you are getting, that is called as your onomatopoeia. Okay, so in the case of onomatopoeia, you can see the buzz, hiss, wham, bang, crack, whiz, pop, honk, cuckoo, okay, splat, rip, crack, tweet. All these are what giving us the idea of the sounds. Whenever you get the idea of the sound, you are going to keep it under onomatopoeia. That is the use of the words that imitate the sounds associated with the objects or the actions they refer to. The clap of the thunder went bang and scared my poor dog. So here you can see went bang. The clap of the thunder went bang. The campfire crackled as the flames grew in size. The champagne bottle popped open. So it is giving us the sense of the sound. That is your onomatopoeia. Got it? Next we have hyperbole or hyperbole. So in case of hyperbole, what happens whenever you are using the certain exaggeration of any kind of sentences or the qualities, that is termed to be hyperbole. Okay, that uses what? That uses the exaggeration to create emphasis or effect. It is not meant to be taken literally. Okay, like I am so hungry, I could eat you. तो इसका मतलब ये नहीं कि मैं तुम्हें खा जाऊंगा. It is just showing us the depth that he is too much hungry. He needs food at that time. So this is what? This is just the exaggeration of any of the literal meaning. Her smile is as bright as the sun and could light up the entire room. I have a mountain of homework. He is as quiet as a graveyard. Graveyard kabristan ko bolte hain. Okay, where the dead ones are being buried. Okay, so that cases we use what? Hyperbole. Next we have euphemism. In the case of euphemism, what happens? We don't try to say negative things. Okay, what do we call? We try to say things in a more professional way or the formal way. Okay, the negative things also, like whenever something you have to deny something, certain facts, you formally deny it in a most respectful way. That is only the euphemism. Okay, that is a word or phrase that is used to avoid saying an unpleasant or offensive word. For example, his great-grandfather passed away last week. It could have been said directly, his great-grandfather died. He is no more. Okay, so what is being said? He passed away last week in a more professional, in a more formal way. Okay, so it is so unfortunate that we have to let you go. Okay, वो जा रही हैं, तो it's so very unfortunate to let you go. It is being said in a manner that is not being considered as unpleasant to the listener or the reader. Okay, like under the weather, it means feeling sick. We don't say. We say under the weather. Ethnic cleansing, we don't say genocide. Okay, correctional facility instead of jail. Okay, heck instead of damn. Okay, so these are what? These are the harsh or the negatives, giving the meaning of feeling of the harshness or the negativity. But what happens? They are certain professional way, by they are also mean the same thing. But the way of speaking, the way of communicating matters a lot. So they are being given, so they also present what? Certain unpleasant, whatever the words we are using, they are not feeling like unpleasant or the offensive. Okay, they keeps the mind under normalcy. Okay, under the control. Okay, like they are not saying certain things which is very, very offensive. They are not saying these things unpleasant which are unpleasant to be heard. Okay, so most of these cases, whatever you will say that these are also the same kind of things which are giving us negativity. It does not matter. The matter thing is that the way of speaking, the way of communicating. Okay, so that is what matters. So therefore euphemism comes into play. Like Sandra seems to be between jobs. Okay, बहुत busy रहती है, तो be between jobs. Okay, so euphemism is that literary devices which allows you to say certain harsh words in a more pleasant way. That is all. Okay, that's all. So that is only the case for euphemism. Next, you can observe here personification. What happens in the case of personification? Whenever you are giving living qualities to the non-living things, the objects, that is termed to be, that is said to be personification. Person. Okay, person को personification में convert कर दिया गया. You can remember it in that way. Okay, so personification is the whenever you are passing on the living qualities into non-living things, you are saying it in the form of literary device, that is personification. So a figure of speech that gives human characteristics or to non-human things, it can be used to make writing more interesting in order to emphasize to a point. The sun smiled down at them. How can a sun smile? Okay, the flowers danced to the wind. How it could be? So these are just the giving the living qualities to the non-living things, termed to be personification. Got it? And one more last we are going to discuss, that is your pun. What happened in the case of pun? You will relate it. Pun, fun. Okay, masti, mazak. Whenever you are joking, in the mood of joking, in a mood of saying something words in not a very strict way, on a strict note, you are meaning it in a sarcastic way, okay, or in a funny way, you are going to use pun. Okay, like an ambassador is an honest man who lies. Yeah, वो तो सच्चे व्यक्ति है, लेकिन वो झूठ बोलते हैं अब्रोड में फॉर द गुड ऑफ हिज कंट्री. So what is it? It is speaking in what? Fun way, in a jolly way. I told a chemistry joke, but there was no reaction. So these are what? These are the sentences for the literary devices, that is pun. So a pun, commonly known as what? Play on words. That is a figure of speech again that plays the words and the sounds. Okay, sorry. That has words that sound similar or identical yet have a diverse meanings. Puns are usually intended to be funny, but in literary works they sometimes serve as a serious purpose too. Like कभी-कभी मस्ती मजाक में भी कुछ क्या होती है, इंपॉर्टेंट चीजें, कुछ सीरियस बातें बोल दी जाती. तो फन आर ऑल्सो बीइंग यूज्ड टू कन्वे दी some serious matters, some serious problems. Okay, so for that case we use pun. So total at the last we discussed about how many literary devices? Total we have discussed 15 literary devices. Okay, total 15 literary devices we have learned. So meanwhile in that case we learned about for the case of comparison, if you could remember, for the case of comparison, for the case of repetition. Okay, in the case of comparison, what you learned? Simile, metaphor. Okay, for the case of repetition, you came across alliteration. Then you came across anaphora. Then you come across what? Assonance, consonance. Okay, we discussed about the pun. Okay, paradox, hyperbole. Okay, so we discussed about oxymoron. Various literary devices which are commonly used, we have discussed all those literary devices in your today's lecture. So what is the thing you are going to do? You need to remember these literary devices, my dear students. Okay, see, these literary devices, you will not be asked to define the literary devices. Rather, what will happen? You will be given certain words, you will be given, certain sentences, or you will be given certain rhymes, certain lines of the dramas, and you will need to identify which literary devices are used there. So in order to first of all remember those literary devices, you must remember their name with the spelling. Once you remember the name, you will remember their functions too. Okay, because most of the cases you will draw out the similarity or the literal meaning of the words hidden inside them only. Okay, so you will, whenever you start relating things by remembering them, by writing it down, by doing 2 to 3 times, you will be able to learn it. You will be able to memorize it for the longer duration of time. And in order to be in the literature part, you will need these literary devices. Okay, without these literary devices, you will not be able to crack or encode the literature. So this was the very important class, various theoretical class basically it was, and here you learned about what? The literal language, the figurative language, and the tropes, the schemes, and furthermore we discussed about the various literary devices that were total in 15. Okay, 15 literary devices we came to learn. You will revise all these literary devices and you will practice whenever you come across your literature books, or whenever you are revising, going through the literature books or around the sentences, just try to get hit around it which literary devices has been used there. Got it? So meanwhile, do things in the best way. Okay, enhance your knowledge day by day, and do not forget to revise today's topic, whatever things we have learned. Okay, all the best. Bye bye everyone, take care.